Diseases of eye, structure of ear.
Now children, let's see the structure of eye. This is the outermost layer called as sclera, which is thick, tough, fibrous, non-elastic. Now the sclera bulges out and forms the cornea. Children, this is the lens. Now children, this is the second layer called as choroid layer. The choroid layer forms the entire eye but except the pupil. So the surrounding area which is surrounded by the pupil is called as the iris. This is the pupil and this is the iris, children. Children, you can see the choroid layer which is containing lot of blood vessels, right? You can see here yellow spot, the area of best vision, that is fovea. This is the blind spot, the area of no vision, and this is the vitreous humor, children. Now children, you can see the blood vessels are present in the choroid layer. This is the optic nerve and this is the retina, where the image is formed and carried out by the optic nerve to processed by the brain. Hello children. Now let's see the internal structure of ear. Now ear consists of three parts: external ear, middle ear and internal ear. Now children, let's see the external ear. You can see flap-like structure made up of cartilage, easily elastic and twisted. Now this external ear is leading to the canal. This is called as ear canal or auditory canal. Now ear canal consists of seminous glands and sebaceous glands. Seminous glands secrete wax and sebaceous glands secrete oil glands. Why? Because this canal has to be lubricated to prevent the dust or any small tiny particles which can enter through the ear. Now children, ear canal is leading to the eardrum. This is the eardrum. Now eardrum is in between the external ear and the middle ear. Now the eardrum. Now after the eardrum we have middle ear. Malleus, incus and stapes. Malleus, incus, stapes. Hammer, anvil and stirrup. Now this stapes will open into the oval window and connects through the round window to the internal ear. Now children, you can see spiral shape structure called as cochlea and three semicircular canals. See children, spiral structure, coil structure called as cochlea and three semicircular canals. Now children, these semicircular canals help us to maintain the equilibrium and posture of the body. Now this cochlea, as I told you, it is spirally structured. Now cochlea is made up of three parts: scala vestibuli, scala media and the scala tympanum. Now the sound waves hit the external ear, travel through the ear canal. What does the middle ear do? When the sound waves enter through the eardrum, that eardrum will transfer that sound waves to the malleus, incus, stapes. What does the malleus, incus, stapes do? They will amplify the sound. Now children, we know that through air the sound travels freely. Now the internal ear is made up of liquid membranous labyrinth.
Now let's see the other sense organs, that is nose, tongue and the skin. Nose. So nose contains a pair of nostrils, children. These are the nostrils. The nostrils contain tiny hair-like structures. So it will prevent the dust or some other germs to enter in our body. So when some dust particles or germs enter our nose, the dust particles and the tiny particles which are present in the hair-like structures disturb the nose and we sneeze out and it will get rid of the dust. So the nostrils will lead to the nasal cavity and the nasal chambers. Children, you can see here, this is the nasal septum, this is the mucous membrane. So the nasal cavity, air is filtered, the moist surface of the lining of the nasal cavity and the hair growing from its sides remove some of the tiny particles of dirt in the air. Odor, airborne chemicals. When we sense a smell which is very flavor and good to our nose, we like it. Right children? So the airborne chemical molecules strike our nose. The mucous membrane have olfactory receptors. It will carry the impulses to the brain. How? Let's see it. So, the airborne molecules interact with the receptor proteins associated with specialized nerve cells. Children, these are the only nerve cells which are in direct contact with the environment. So, these cells incidentally are the body's only nerve cells that come in direct contact with the outside environment. So, the receptors present at the base of the skin lining, the inner walls of the nose, are highly sensitive to odor chemicals. Children, when we smell a rose, so the airborne molecules enter the nasal cavity, the mucous membrane is lined. So, it has olfactory gland, olfactory cells of the odor molecules. So, it will carry the neurons, olfactory duct and olfactory bulb. So, these are the supporting cells. Children, you can see here nasal cavity. Children, this is the olfactory epithelium, olfactory system, olfactory cells. This is the mucus, these are the dendrites, this is the olfactory receptor, olfactory gland, connective tissue. These are the filaments of olfactory nerve. So, all these things carry the impulses to the brain. Now, the receptor cells transform information about the stimulus into nerve signals that will send the nerve signals to the brain smell centers located on the underside of the brain. In brain, our sensation of smell are initially processed and then passed on to many other parts of the brain. So, this is the brain, children. This is the olfactory bulb, olfactory tract, then olfactory cortex of temporal lobe, conscious perception of smell, hippocampus, olfactory memory. So, we memorize some parts of smell also, right children? Now, this is the emotional response. This is the reticular formation, visceral response to smell. So, if you are suffering from cold, do you smell things in the natural way? Do you find any relationship between smell and the taste? Children, when we have cold, we do not have the sense of taste and smell. Why is that? Let's see. Our nose produces excess mucus. Hence, the odorants are unable to reach the receptors, thus making it difficult to smell. So, why can't we taste also? Specialized gustatory receptors on our tongue tell the odorants from food travel back from our mouth to the olfactory receptors. So, the combination of information from gustatory and the olfactory receptor give us the sense of overall flavor. So, taking care of the nose. Take proper care of your nose by washing it with water as you take bath. During nasal infection, by washing them with lukewarm or salt water. Tongue. Children, tongue is a voluntary muscle. It is made up of voluntary muscle. Voluntary means that is in our control. We can move our tongue. Right children? So, this is the buccal cavity. These are the teeth and this is the tongue. This contains papillae. Papillae contains the taste buds. So, these taste buds will take the information to the brain whether the food is salty, sour, bitter, sweet. Right? So, the tongue is made up of voluntary muscles. It contains about 10,000 taste buds. The taste buds are located in the walls of the papillae. The taste receptor cells located in the taste buds on the top and the side of the tongue. So, the taste receptors cluster in small mucous membrane projections called as papillae. Children, there are 4 types of papillae. Let's see them. Flake-like structures. You can see the flake-like structures called as filiform papillae. The small roundish structures called as fungiform papillae. Large roundish ones called as circumvallate papillae. Bump-like structures. You can see bump-like structures, children. These are called as foliate papillae. Now, children, you can see here clearly, right? The papillae and the taste buds. You can see your tongue also in the mirror. Now, children, so the circumvallate papillae are at the back of the tongue, fungiform in the center, filiform in the tip of the tongue, foliate on the sides. So, as food enters our mouth, we bite and chew it and press it against the palate with our tongue. Children, As I told you, this is the buccal cavity, these are the teeth, this is the tongue, this is the palate. Touch your palate with the tongue, isn't it? This is the palate. So when you chew the food, you touch the food to the palate, that will release the saliva. Now we know that saliva contains the enzyme called as ptyalin, which will break the sugar molecules. Now children, you can clearly see here, this is the soft palate, this is the vulva, this is the tongue, these are the teeth. So this releases the chemicals in food that trigger off our taste buds to act and carry stimulus to the brain to be processed for recognition of taste. So children, you can see clearly here fungiform papillae, filiform papillae, foliate papillae and circumvallate papillae. These contains 10,000s of taste buds. Taste bud children, this is the taste pore, this is the taste hair, right children, this is the gustatory cell. Now each taste bud has a cavity with pore called as taste pore. The epithelial cells surrounding the taste buds form taste cells or the receptors. Children, you can see here, this is the taste pore, this is the taste hair, this is the tongue epithelium. Taste cell, these are the supporting cells. This is the structure of taste bud. Now the taste buds are enclosed in the papillae. So there are 10,000s of papillae and 10,000s of taste buds in our tongue. So this is the sensory nerve fiber. So all the information which is carried out to the brain through the sensory nerve. Each receptor cell connects to a nerve fiber. All the nerve fiber connect to the main nerves that carry messages to the brain and the spinal cord for further. Now gustation, sense of taste. We have 4 types of taste children: sweet, sour, bitter, salty. Telugu people consider 6 types of taste, Shadruchulu, which includes spiciness and vagaru. Now these are the taste buds, surface of the tongue, the hair emerging into saliva. As I told you children, the food we eat, we chew with the help of teeth. When we touch the palate, the saliva is released. So the taste is guessed by the tongue. So these are the sensory cells, magnification of the taste bud. These are the nerve fibers. Clear picture. Now these are the microvilli, taste pore, taste cell, supporting cell. This is the oral cavity, epidermis of the tongue. Epidermis means children outermost layer. This is the nerve ending. So nerve endings, and they are carrying the nerve fibers. That is the information whether it is sweet, salty, sour or bitter. So salty, sweet, umami, bitter and sour. Umami is the savory flavor found in the protein rich food. That means children, seafoods mainly. Metallic taste is taste of some artificial processed food materials. Children, artificially processed means that is not natural. It has expiry date also. So when you buy any processed food, please see the expiry date also, because the processed food means artificial flavors are added to sustain the freshness of the food. Better to avoid processed food children, eat natural food. So these are the umamis flavored foods, that is seafood, cheese and the meat. So taking care about the tongue, clean and wash the tongue before going to bed, at night and after rising up in the morning. Wash the mouth cavity after eating the food. Right children, there are some tiny food particles which remain in our teeth, which is not good for our health, right? So children, the last sense organ, that is skin. It is the biggest sense organ of our body, right? And it is the first level of protection, right children, from invading of germs. So skin contains cutaneous receptors for touch. So it is divided into 2 parts, epidermis, dermis specifically. So this is the dermis children. You can see here dermal papillae, this is the hair follicle, this is the sweat duct, erector pili muscle, sebaceous glands, this is the vein artery. Obviously it has to be supported with the blood vessels, right? This is the hair follicle, this is sweat duct, sweat gland, subcutaneous fat cells, hypodermis, reticular dermis, right children? Now epidermis, layer for protection. It has sweat pores and small hair. So it has 3 layers, children. First layer, stratum corneum. Second layer, Malpighian layer. Third layer, granular layer. First layer, stratum corneum, which contain dead cells, children. Second layer, Malpighian layer, in which the cells divide continuously. Granular layer, which contain living cells. So the structure of epidermis, children. The first layer is stratum corneum, which contains the dead cells, children. Stratum granulosum, in which the cells are continuously dividing, right, children? The stratum spinosum, stratum basilae, basement membrane, and this is the dermis. Stratum corneum, stratum lucidum, stratum granulosum, stratum spinosum, right, children? Dead cells filled with the keratin layer, right? Now the second layer, that is dermis, made up of elastic connective tissue. It contains sweat glands, sebaceous glands, hair follicles, blood vessels and fat. Sweat glands, sweat, it produces sweat. Sebaceous gland, it produces oil because it has to keep our skin moist. During winters, we find the scaly skin. We apply the moisture. Technically speaking, we do have sebaceous glands which will keep the skin moisture. But due to the climatic conditions, in winters, the skin dries up. We know we have a scaly skin, children, in winter. It's because of that, right? Then we have hair follicles, blood vessels and fats. So this is the dermis, children. It has melanocytes, right? It has fatty tissue, the blood vessels, the follicles, the sebaceous glands which will produce, yes, oil, and sweat glands which will produce sweat. Skin and touch. Skin is the outermost covering of our body. It regulates the body temperature and eliminates certain waste material through sweat. It is good to sweat, children, because we can eliminate some certain waste materials also, right? Then it is the largest organ, provides the first level of protection of the body. Pigmentation. Color of the skin is due to the presence of pigment called as melanin. This pigment gets stimulation when exposed to sunlight. Children, in India we have diversity of people, right? Some are dark, some are fair, some are having normal color, brown color. Now I am dark, somebody is fair. Why is that I am dark? Because of the pigment called as melanin. The melanocytes will secrete the pigment melanin, which will make my skin looks dark. So the fair people who do not have melanin pigment or melanocytes production, so they are fair. So do not discriminate anybody to the color, right, children? So localized pigmentation, hyperpigmentation, when sunlight falls. So the melanocytes activate and produce the pigment called as melanin, so that the skin will tan. Especially in the summers, right? When we go out to play, we play in the sun, right, children? So we will tan. Why? Because when exposed to sunlight, the melanocytes will secrete the pigment called as melanin. So you can see here, children, dark color, brown and the fair. As I told you, the dark colored children are dark because of the pigment called as melanin, right? The children who are fair is because they lack the pigment called as melanin. So these are the melanocytes, children. You can clearly see they are releasing the pigment called as melanin. Melanocytes, right? You can see the upper layer which is dark, which is light, right? So here the melanocytes are releasing the melanin pigment which is making it dark. Here the melanocytes are not releasing the pigment melanin, so the skin color is light. Skin is sensitive to touch, temperature and pressure. It contains the separate receptors such as tactile receptors for touch, Pacinian corpuscles for pressure, nociceptors for temperature. So this is the structure of the skin, children. Epidermis, dermis and the hypodermis. Epidermis, right? Now children, you can see the hair shafts, right? Pores or sweat glands which will release the sweat, right, children? So erectile pili muscles, hair follicles, sebaceous glands, hair root, hair follicles, right, children? So in Braille scripts, the letters are written in the form of elevations and depression. So the visually impaired students can read the script merely by touching, right, children? So diseases of skin. viral diseases, measles, chickenpox. Bacterial diseases such as leprosy. Leukoderma, the disease due to the deficiency of melanin. Pellagra, the disease due to the deficiency of vitamins. Fungal disease such as ringworm. It is very infective, children, and it gets spread from one person to other, so we have to be very careful, specifically fungal and bacterial diseases. Taking care about skin. We should take bath regularly, use soap to clean the body. If any redness, itching, discoloration and rashes appear on the skin, immediately consult the doctor. What we have learnt? Tongue contains nearly 10,000 taste buds present on the papillae. Skin has cutaneous receptors. It is the sense organ of touch. Olfactory receptors are present in the mucous membrane of nose. Sense organs send message through sensory pathways to the brain, where they are processed and sent to required sense organs to function through motor pathways. Structure and function of skin, function of taste buds. Improve your learning. How does saliva helps the taste buds in taste sensation? Second, during severe cough and cold, why we don't get the taste of food? How do you appreciate the functions of sensory organs which help us to enjoy the beauty of nature? Describe the structure of skin with the help of neat labeled diagram. For better understanding of the concept, solve the worksheet. Please visit the official website of SIET. Thank you.